Have you ever stopped to question why we eat 3 meals a day? It's a practice so ingrained in our daily routine we seldom question its origins or its necessity. Now let's take a step back. Picture the vast timeline of human history. For the majority of it, we were hunters and gatherers, living off the land. Food was not always available, and our eating patterns reflected that reality. Our meals were sporadic, based on the success of a hunt or what could be foraged. The concept of breakfast, lunch, and dinner, non-existent. Fast forward to the advent of agriculture and suddenly food is available consistently. Yet, the shift to regular meals didn't happen overnight. It took centuries and a considerable push from commercial interests to establish the 3-meal system we know today. You've probably heard the phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It's catchy, memorable, and it sells a lot of cereal. But did you know it was actually a marketing slogan created by food companies in the 20th century? The push for regular meals and snacks was not born out of nutritional science, but rather, commercial gain. This drive for consumption has had a significant impact on our health. With the rise of processed, easy-to-consume foods and increased meal frequency, we've seen a parallel rise in obesity rates worldwide. Yet the structure of 3 meals a day does offer some benefits. It can provide a sense of routine and potentially metabolic stability. However, it also has its downsides, such as the potential for overeating and not being in sync with our individual hunger cues. In recent years, we've seen a shift. Some people are choosing different eating patterns, like intermittent fasting. There's an increasing emphasis on listening to our bodies, tuning into our personal hunger cues, and not just following societal norms or advertised ideals. So, is 3 meals a day really an evolutionary necessity, or could it be a product of modern society? Stay tuned as we delve deeper into our eating habits and explore whether the 3-meal system is truly the best fit for our health and lifestyle. To understand our current eating habits, we need to take a step back in time. Picture our early human ancestors, the hunter-gatherers living in a world where the supermarket was the great outdoors, and home delivery was an unimaginable luxury. Their lifestyle was dictated by the availability, or rather the scarcity, of food. They ate what they could find or catch, and that was hardly on a fixed schedule. The hunter-gatherer diet was sporadic, sometimes feasting when the hunt was successful, other times fasting when food was scarce. This irregular eating pattern was the norm for most of our evolutionary history. Our bodies adapted to this lifestyle, evolving to process a diverse array of foods and store excess energy for lean times. And, contrary to what we might think, high-fat meals were a rarity, not a daily indulgence. Now let's fast forward to the advent of agriculture, a revolutionary period that changed the course of human history. Suddenly, food was no longer a scarce resource that needed to be tirelessly hunted or gathered. It was readily available, and meals became more consistent. This agricultural revolution marked a drastic shift in our eating habits, moving us from sporadic munchers to regular meal eaters. But here's the catch. Evolution is a slow process, and our bodies haven't quite caught up to this change. We're still biologically wired for the hunter-gatherer lifestyle, designed to store excess energy from our meals and use it during periods of scarcity. The problem is, in our modern world of consistent food availability, these periods of scarcity are virtually non-existent. So, we find ourselves in a conundrum. On one hand, we have our primal instincts urging us to eat and store energy whenever food is available. On the other, we're living in a world where food is always available, and our pantries are bursting with easy-to-consume high-calorie foods. It seems our stomachs are still stuck in the Stone Age, while our pantries are bursting with modern abundance. This contrast between our biological instincts and our modern environment is a key factor in understanding our eating habits, and it sets the stage for the next part of our journey, the influence of advertising and commercial interests on our meal patterns. But how did we get from hunting mammoths to munching on cereal at 7 in the morning sharp every day? This question brings us to the power of advertising and the role of food and beverage companies. You see, as societies evolved and our food became more readily available, there were those who saw an opportunity. They recognized that food was more than a necessity, it was a business. And in business, the more you sell, the more you earn. So they began promoting the idea of regular meals and snacks throughout the day as a way to increase consumption and, by extension, their profits. Enter the era of advertising, where catchy slogans and well-crafted campaigns have the power to shape societal norms. Remember the phrase, breakfast is the most important meal of the day? It was actually coined by a cereal company in the 19th century to sell more of their product, and it worked. The notion stuck and continues to influence our eating habits today. Then came the rise of processed, easy-to-consume foods. These products not only appealed to our desire for convenience but also allowed companies to further push the idea of frequent meals and snacks. After all, who has time to prepare 3 full meals a day plus snacks from scratch? With processed foods, a quick bite to eat was just a package away. But here's the catch. While these changes might have been good for business, they weren't necessarily good for us. Studies have shown a correlation between increased meal frequency, snack consumption, and rising obesity rates. It seems that when we shifted from eating when we were hungry to eating when the clock said it was time, we also shifted towards overconsumption. In other words, our eating habits have been shaped more by commercial interests than by our own biological needs. And the effects of this are evident in the health issues we face today. It appears that our eating habits are less about our health, and more about the health of corporate profits. This realization may be a bitter pill to swallow, but it's also a wake-up call. It's time to reevaluate our relationship with food and the influences that shape our eating habits. So, is eating 3 times a day all bad news? Not necessarily. This system does have its advantages. For one, it provides a sense of structure. Our bodies thrive on routine, and having regular meal times can aid digestion and prevent us from feeling overly hungry. Moreover, 3 meals a day can potentially lead to metabolic stability, ensuring our bodies have a consistent supply of energy. However, this isn't the full picture. One significant disadvantage of the 3-meal system is the potential for overeating. When we eat according to a schedule rather than our hunger cues, we may end up consuming more than we need. This is particularly true in societies where portion sizes have ballooned, and there's a tendency to finish everything on our plates. Further, the 3-meal system can cause us to be out of sync with our individual hunger cues. Instead of eating when we're truly hungry, we eat because it's time to. This can lead to unnecessary calorie intake and, over time, weight gain. Lastly, there's the potential for consuming more processed foods. With the need to prepare 3 meals a day, many of us opt for convenience over quality. This often means relying on processed foods that are quick to prepare but can be high in sugars, unhealthy fats, and sodium. But here's an interesting development. Modern shifts in eating patterns are beginning to challenge the 3-meal system. Intermittent fasting, for example, has gained popularity as a way to align eating patterns more closely with our body's natural rhythms. It involves periods of eating and fasting, and proponents argue it can lead to weight loss, improved metabolic health, and even increased longevity. So, where does this leave us? It's clear that the 3-meal system isn't without its flaws, but rather than ditching it entirely, perhaps it's about adapting it to better suit our individual needs and lifestyles. What if we told you there's no one-size-fits-all answer to how many meals you should eat in a day? It's about finding what works for you, and that might mean eating more or less frequently. The key is to listen to your body, consider your lifestyle and health goals, and choose an eating pattern that supports your well-being. In the end, it's not about conforming to societal norms, but about listening to your own body. This statement rings true when it comes to our eating patterns. We're all unique, with different metabolic rates, activity levels, and health goals. So it stands to reason that our eating habits should reflect this diversity. Our bodies are incredibly intuitive. They can tell us when we're hungry, when we're full, and even what type of food we're craving. These cues are often drowned out by the noise of modern life, but they're there, waiting to be heard. Tuning into these signals can lead to a more balanced, satisfying, and healthful relationship with food. One way to start listening to your body is by practicing mindful eating. This involves being fully present during meals, taking time to savor each bite, and paying attention to feelings of hunger and fullness. By slowing down and truly experiencing our meals, we can better understand our hunger cues and what our bodies need. Another option is to experiment with different eating patterns. Maybe 3 meals a day works for you, but perhaps you feel better with 2 larger meals or several smaller ones. There's also intermittent fasting, which involves cycling between periods of eating and fasting. This approach has been shown to promote weight loss, improve metabolic health, and even extend lifespan in some studies. However, it's important to remember that what works for one person might not work for another. What matters most is finding an approach that aligns with your individual health and lifestyle. This could mean consulting with a dietitian, doing your own research, or simply paying more attention to how different foods and eating patterns affect your body. At the end of the day, the goal is to nourish our bodies in a way that feels good and supports our overall health. This isn't a one-size-fits-all journey, but a personal exploration of what works best for us. Remember, you are unique, and so are your nutritional needs. Don't let society dictate when you should eat. Listen to your body, it knows best.